Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Garden Casting. It's a beautiful day in central Kentucky. We're finally back outside. I'm so excited. All right, so I came across a new X account. He popped up in my feed and he's just like a common sense guy telling about his daily life and having common sense about all of the situations. His name is Ethan Brooks. And he put something up this week that ties right into my single mother statistics podcast that we did not too long ago. It's exactly a case in point of what can happen to a boy if he doesn't have a dad who's going to have his back and his mom and his teachers are going to run all over him. Welcome back to the Green Egg Girl podcast. All right, so Ethan Brooks put up this tweet. Had a parent-teacher conference this morning. My wife told me not to come. I came anyway. She said, please just listen and nod. I said, I always listen. She said, you listen like you're sitting in a boardroom looking for something to challenge. That's how listening works. Nice classroom, small chairs. I'm 6'4" and I was seated at a desk designed for someone who still believes in Santa Claus. My knees touched my chest. The teacher introduced herself, shared her identifying pronouns. I shared my identifying adjectives, smart and handsome. My wife closed her eyes. The teacher had a folder, color-coded tabs. I respected the organization. She said our son is a pleasure to have in class. My wife smiled. I waited. The sentence is never the whole report. It's the executive summary before the risks section. She said, however, there it is. She said he asks a lot of questions. I said, good. She said, during quiet time. I said, when is quiet time? She said, it's when students are expected to work independently and in silence. I said, so he's the only one trying to get information and you've structured the environment to prevent it? My wife put her hand on my arm. I continued. The teacher said, he recently told another student that sharing pencils doesn't make sense if nobody brings their own. I said, that's an accurate observation. My wife squeezed harder. The teacher said she's concerned about his resistance to group activities. I said, he's not resistant. He just doesn't see the value in doing more work for the same grade. The teacher said he also corrected her math on the whiteboard. I said, was he right? She paused. She said, that's not the point. I said, it's a little bit at the point. My wife stood up, sat back down. Compromise. The teacher pulled out an evaluation sheet. Categories like works well with others, follows directions, and respects classroom norms. All subjective. Not a number on a page. I asked how these are graded. She said based on observation. I said, so one person's opinion with no second review? She said, it's professional judgment. I said, my auditors say that too, right before I disagree with them. She looked at my wife. My wife said, I'm sorry about him. I said, I'm sitting right here. My wife said, I know. The teacher said overall he's a bright kid and she just wants to make sure he learns to collaborate. I said collaboration is important, but so is recognizing when you're the only one doing the work. He'll learn that again in college and again in the real world. Might as well start now. Nobody spoke. The teacher closed her folder. She said, I think we've covered everything. I said, one more thing. She braced herself. I said, his reading is above grade level. His math is strong. He asks hard questions and corrects mistakes when he sees them. I just want to make sure the school knows what it has. The teacher looked at me differently. My wife looked at me differently. I said, that's all. We left. In the car, my wife was quiet. Then she said, he's turning into you. I said, is that a good thing? She didn't answer. From the back seat, he said, Dad, Why does the teacher count off for asking questions? Isn't that the whole point of school? I looked at my wife. She looked out the window. I said, yes, it is. He said, I don't think she likes it when I'm right. I didn't say anything. Neither did my wife. Small chairs, color-coded tabs, no follow-up items. But the kid's going to be fine. So I read that. And I'll link it. It's linked down in the description. So I read that. And all I could think was this is exactly why single mothers suck at raising sons. Women cannot raise men to be men. It takes a man to walk into those situations and put two women in their place. Because that teacher would rather force her will on that child, who's far too smart to be in the classroom he's in, frankly, than understand what she has in her classroom. It's a smart kid. Everything I read in that kid's way too smart to be in a normal school. Schools are set up to be, well, the schools were based around communist principles to begin with. Our public schooling is 100% communist. I was a great little communist. Most little boys are not great little communists. And second, that mom was going to let some know-nothing teacher who got the easiest degree to get, which is elementary education, she was going to let that teacher destroy her son. And she very disrespectfully called out her husband and tried to apologize for him. That's why moms can't raise sons. They just can't. Now, personally, I'll be homeschooling because no brain-dead teacher is going to be deciding that my son can't cooperate with others. I don't cooperate well with others now either, by the way. Because you do one too many group projects and you start to realize that you fall into camps. And then you get into the workforce and you realize that life is one giant group project. And when you work in the realms of men, you start to understand that there's always a detriment to the team somewhere. The problem is the teacher tries very, very hard to make you toe a line. He did the right thing by his son. This is why men are absolutely necessary to raise other men. And if his wife is disappointed that her son is turning out like her husband, well, you didn't do what you should have done and chosen someone you respect. His wife needs to pull her head directly out of her ass and realize that she has a husband with common sense who makes her whole life function. He showed up to a parent-teacher conference and stood up for his child where she would have let that child get decimated by a know-nothing moron teacher. And I say this because I roomed with teachers in college. I know what elementary education looks like. It's not hard. Bake color for homework, guys. It's really that dumb. No amount of education for elementary ed is going to teach you how to deal with a child who's smarter than you. That kid walks in the room trying to learn and the teacher wants to hinder him because she wants control more than she wants to educate. And the mom would have let it happen. Ethan's the only one standing up for his son, and his son's going to turn out just fine because he has a dad who's willing to fight for him. It will have nothing to do with a mom. Women cannot raise men. Men raise men. And this is the stereotypical case in point. I had people argue with me on a clip from the podcast on single motherhood where I talked about we don't live in the patriarchy. We don't. This story proves it. Because in a patriarchy, teacher wouldn't have been fighting. Oh, and the follow-up was the teacher set up a one-on-one conference with the mom for the following week to not bring her husband. And really and truly, any woman that respected her husband in any way, shape, or form wouldn't be trying to have that parent-teacher conference without him. He knows about it because of the Google Calendar that he shares with his wife. There's not a chance in hell I would let my husband burn the school down. Women can't raise men. Men raise men. But if you don't have any respect for your husband, you'll destroy your son before he's out of elementary school. Wake up, women. We live in a matriarchal hellscape. And you're destroying your sons before they have a chance at life. Women cannot raise men. Only men can raise men. And it is a fact of life that we all must accept. And every man who has ever argued that with me argues like a chick from the Whatever podcast. It's sad, it's weak, it's pathetic, and it's not based in reality, it's based in feeling because that's all they know, because that's what their mommies taught them. Allow the fathers to raise their sons. Otherwise, all the single motherhood statistics will just be that. We've covered that already. You want less crime? Let men raise men. You want less drug abuse? Let men raise men. We need to bring back the patriarchy. We need to allow the men to raise other men. And if you don't respect them because, oh, well, some teacher's saying something, you're stupid. Can't say that bluntly enough. If you would rather go behind your husband's back to undermine him and weaken your son on the behest of some elementary education teacher, you have lost your bloody mind, you stupid cow. I hope you all enjoy some sunshine and reflect on this for the rest of the day because we have to change this. A, the communist education is exactly that. It's communist and you shouldn't be sending your kids to it. And B, your sons need their fathers. Desperately. Absolutely desperately. Your daughters need their fathers to understand how they are to be treated by other men. That's not something you can teach them. It's how we've ended up with podcasts like the Whatever podcast. Have you ever paid attention and seen how many of them didn't have a father in the home? Because it's a lot. And most of those are OnlyFans bimbos. Your children need their fathers more than they need you. Accept it. And let's start moving on. We need a better future ahead. This country's dying out. We're allowing our sons to just be stifled in a classroom at a young age, which is insane. They're watching their mothers disrespect their fathers in real time. And it's absolutely insane. And then the whole family court system is set up by feminists. So of course they want the moms to have the kids despite the fact that every single statistic shows that that's the worst possible outcome. Let men be men and raise the men. It's important. Weak men are dangerous. Masculine men who show up and say very few words, but think through what they say like Ethan did, that's the future. He's raising the future of our country and the future of our world. And I hope he keeps fighting for that. I hope you all have a beautiful, sunny Sunday. I guess now you're seeing this, it's Monday. But regardless, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Let's bring back the patriarchy, shall we?